Many returning Diablo 2 players believe that the Sorceress is the go-to build for any ladder reset or the inevitable D2R launch. But in this video, I'm going to show you what I use for literally every ladder reset as my first character. This will definitely be the one that I'm running first thing in Diablo 2 Resurrected. And that character is the Assassin. In this video, I'm going to quickly walk you through the early game, mid game, and late game. Feel free to make some adjustments along the way, as the fun part about any game is learning these builds yourself with just a little bit of guidance along the way. That being said, let's dive in. The reason I choose the Assassin class is because it is so good on so many levels. Right from the get-go, as soon as you have access to Fire Blast, you will start wrecking crowds of monsters. Recently on stream, we proved how ridiculously good even a budget version of this character can be when it comes to mid-game magic finding. With a couple of easy gear choices early on, not only can you farm just about any level 85 area in the game, but you can also take on most bosses and take them down pretty quickly. Once you get the right gear in the late game, you can actually morph this build into a spider, which is phenomenal not only in PvP, but also in PvM. And this is also one of the best characters to do key farming, which is where you collect all of the different keys that drop from certain unique mini bosses and either hoard them or sell them so that you or other people can make the end game portals that eventually lead to Uber Tristram. So let's walk through what this character looks like at each of those stages. From the second you create the character and step into the Bloodmoor, you're just going to be smacking monsters until you gain access to Fire Blast. Your first few levels, you're going to dump points into this skill. It actually has a pretty nice area of effect on it and can be cast very rapidly. This trap skill, along with any trap skill, is based on your attack speed on your character. So as you collect items, just keep that in mind. But also, as soon as you can, you're going to want to put at least 1 point into Burst of Speed. Burst of Speed allows you to run around the map a lot quicker and lay down traps a lot faster. I would definitely suggest no more than 5 points into it. If you're a filthy casual like myself, you can get away with just putting 1 point into this and trying to maximize your damage from Fire Blast. Then as soon as you hit level 12, you're going to want to start putting points into Wake of Fire. If you thought the area of effect on Fire Blast was pretty nasty, you should see it on Wake of Fire. Conveniently, Fire Blast is a synergy for this skill, so your damage will already be there as soon as you can put 1 point into it. With Wake of Fire alone, you should be able to carry yourself or a team of players with some help to about Nightmare Act 4 before you have to make some changes. You're going to want to make sure to budget your skills though, so that as soon as you reach level 24, you put 1 point into Mind Blast. Mind Blast is incredible. Not only does it stun groups of monsters, but it can also have a chance to convert them, making them fight their own kind. This skill alone makes it so that certain things that other classes have to worry about early on, such as huge packs of monsters, are never a problem for you after level 24. As for early game gear, there are a lot of options, but there are 2 items that are going to make your run a lot easier for you. The first one, of course, is Stealth. You make this simply by putting the runes Tal and Eth into a 2-socket armor. And the next item is Leaf, and you simply get this by putting the runes Tyr and Ral into a 2-socket staff. This gives you +3 to fire skills, and this definitely works with your Wake of Fire and your Fire Blast. With these 2 items alone, you can practically easy normal. Literally, no other item really matters. After you get to Act 4 Nightmare, you may consider restatting this build into a Death Sentry Sin. At that point, you'll want to put 1 point into all of the 1-point wonders that we talked about, Burst of Speed and Mind Blast. Also, I would suggest Shadow Master. But as you level up from there, you should be around level 40. You're just going to want to continue putting points into Death Sentry, Lightning Sentry, and Fire Blast. This will allow you to diversify your damage a lot. Not only does Death Sentry do lightning damage inherently, but it explodes corpses and does additional physical and fire damage. You can supplement that fire damage with Fire Blast, which is also a synergy for Death Sentry and will allow it to get more shots off before the trap dies. And once you run out of skills to max in that regard, you just put the rest of your points into synergies for Lightning Sentry. That setup literally should allow you to get through the rest of the game and go all the way through to hell with practically no problems. Just remember to rely on Mind Blast quite a bit when you think that you're in trouble. If you're being surrounded by groups of monsters, Mind Blast is your friend. At that point, also for the gear, you're going to hopefully find a 4 open socket sword and build a spirit out of it. Hopefully by then you can also find the items or runes to build a lore helm. But at this point, you're going to want to be looking for gear that is cheap that gives you plus to skills. Additionally, you could look for gloves or other items that give you increased attack speed. This will again help with your trap laying speed. As we mentioned, this version should get you through the rest of the game, even solo if you're playing that way, but if you are playing with a group of friends and you have a necromancer that has lower resist or a paladin with conviction, you are going to absolutely dominate the game. But then what do we do when we've beaten the game and we've leveled up to the point where we can start farming and looking for better items? Well, now we're talking the mid-game build for this assassin. At this point, you're going to want to have at least some of the items that we talked about for late game. I would highly suggest Spirit Sword. You're probably going to want to go with Rhyme Shield for Cannot Be Frozen. If you're frozen, it will slow down your trap laying speed. But these next two items that I'm going to tell you about are single-handedly why I run an assassin instead of a sorceress every ladder reset. And those items are a lower resist wand and a teleport staff. By the time you get to the late game, if you haven't shopped one along the way, you can just go to Hell Ormus in Act 3 and continually refresh his offerings, and you could actually find both of these items from that one vendor. He's definitely not the only vendor that sells staffs and wands though, so just pick your favorite one and keep refreshing until you find them. A teleport staff will give you a similar advantage to what the sorceress has for farming speed. Granted, you may only have a limited amount of charges with these, and they do get pretty expensive to repair. So make sure that as you're farming, you're picking up items that will sell for 35k gold so that you can easily repair these teleport staffs. Additionally, when you get to these bosses, you will definitely need that lower resist wand. When you have that, you're just going to lay down a bunch of lightning sentry traps and cast lower resist on the boss, and that should take him out at a pretty reasonable speed. Trust me, to make light work of these bosses, you don't need anything special in your gear slots besides those two items and some plus to skills gear. If you're excited about being able to farm the cow level as much as your heart desires in D2R, this build is also phenomenal for that. The Cow King might be immune to lightning, but with your lower resist wand and with your diversified damage, you still should have no problem taking him out. As far as your strategy, you're going to want to make sure to lay down about 4 lightning sentry traps with any group of monsters and follow that up with 1 death sentry trap, all while keeping Mind Blast up to stun and confuse the monsters. The way this usually pans out is when one of the monsters in the pack goes down, Death Sentry explodes the corpse and practically takes every single one of them in the pack out. So with this build, we have the teleport speed of a sorceress, we have the corpse explosion area effect of a necro, and we have very diversified sources of damage. And then after farming literally any area in the game that you would like with this mid-game build, once we find the right runes, the right bases, and our end game items, we can transition this build into a spider. The reason I go spider in the end game is because of the significantly OP skill called Claw Block. With this skill, dual claw assassins go from being semi-tanky to good fucking luck. Claw Block has a chance to literally block any attack that comes your way. And this is also why it's a phenomenal early build for farming Neelathok and other keys. If you telly up on Neelathok and start killing some of his monsters, not only can you use your Death Sentry to explode the corpses before he does, but if he does manage to blow up a corpse before you do, you actually have a chance to just block the entire attack with both of your claws. Between Fury and Chaos, you will have a very large % chance to cut monsters open, making them bleed out, all while taking lightning, physical, and fire damage as well. It's ridiculous. And once you've finally found all the endgame items that your heart desires, this build transitions very well into PvP. We have done a previous video on a Spider Sin largely based on Bowie's build, and I'll link you to that video right here. The Assassin class is underrated in my opinion and underpicked early on, but that will not be the case for us when D2R drops. I want to wish you all the best of luck in D2R. I hope you find all of the items that you're looking for and really enjoy the game to the fullest of its potential. Let me know what build you're going to be making first thing in D2R down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one.